Hello, welcome to today's What's in the Workshop. You join me from the future. So we're going to go back a couple of weeks and look at when I was just finishing off the Dalesman here, getting its new engine all sorted, ironing out a few little bits and pieces. And then I started preparing it for a trial. Now this is the trial that I attempted last year. I got a couple of sections and then unfortunately the engine blew up. So it was 114 miles, this trial. So it's a big one. So we're going to go back and have a look at me getting ready for it and then see how I did on the trial.
Right, so I've just changed the sprocket from a 13 tooth to a 16 tooth and put a longer chain on. Had a bit of a problem. I've realised where I had this spacer here, the chain has been rubbing. And actually if you do the chain up tight, it does just overlap that hole. So what I've had to do is chop off this piece here that went to where the swing arm was, where the foot peg was mounted on. I'm going to have to extend that down so the foot peg will then just bolt up to the swing arm instead, like it did originally with the original swing arm, rather than going to that tube. And then I've just machined down a nut on the lathe that'll fit behind the chain there. So that should be okay for that. So I'll sort that out. Okay, got this made up. So I machined the nut down and then I've just tigged it on and flatted it back on the lathe again, just because it's quite thin now. I thought I'd tig it on. I don't want to rely upon the thread engagement. So that's basically a bolt now, really. So I've set the length right so the other end should still be okay. So I'll put the back through and then we'll weld on our piece here for the foot peg. Okay, that should ensure it's not going anywhere. So although it's not braced across to the frame anymore, it's good and strong. I've used nice thick steel and it goes down into this, which bolts onto the frame there, and it pulls down from the swing arm. So there's not going to be any flex in that. Happy with that. So once that's cooled down, I'll just lynch off the welds a bit and pop a bit of paint on that. But you can see in there now, we've got clearance between the chain and our bolt. Of course, if I ever need to get it back out, I'll have to cut this off again, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But for now, that's much better. Right, so that's all back together and painted. I'm willing to admit I've made an error. So this bracket and the distance of the peg from the bracket was on the spacer where the swing arm was originally with a Butch engine. I have moved it up to where the swing arm is now. So I've got one peg up there and another one down there. So I'll just do that all again. Okay, taking it off the bike this time. Let's do it again. Right, started again with this completely fresh bit of steel. Just cut that all to length. I've drilled the hole in it, popped it on the bike and tacked it. So now I'm going to weld that properly. We'll go from there. Okay, that's all back together. Hopefully I put that the right way around. Tigged it this time just because I could, because it wasn't on the bike. Yeah, should be good and strong. Get a lick of paint on it and put it back on. There we go. All painted back in the right place. It looked neater than it did before anyway, because I used a fresh bit of steel rather than joining in a piece. So, lesson learned. Measure twice, cut once. Right, bit of an update. I fitted another front sprocket. I had upgraded it to the 16 tooth from the 13, but it was close to what I wanted, but still the cruising speed was probably, comfortable cruising speed to be high 30s, and I wanted sort of 40 as the cruising. So I've gone for 17 tooth, as biggest I can fit. That has made an improvement. That's where I want it to be gearing wise now. Any more on first gear would be getting a little bit too high. So that's fine. However, the other day I was taking this to work When I went to leave, it didn't start very well. And then I was trying to get the idle to adjust, and that wouldn't adjust very well. And I realised the pilot jet that lives up in, I don't know if you can see, up there, where my finger is, that had fallen out. So I think it's supposed to have a spring behind it, which wasn't there, spring and an O-ring. So I got a new one. I put that in, put the carburetor back on, and since then it's not been starting very well. Once it's running, it's fine, but it doesn't like to start, especially when it's warm. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. The only other thing I did while the carburetor was off, I put it in the ultrasonic, give it a good clean, and it doesn't seem very happy about it. So it's now Saturday evening and my event is next Sunday. So I have ordered a new carburetor, which will arrive tomorrow for £14. Dubious on the quality, but I just want to put that on and see what it does, see if that makes any difference. The only other thing I can think of, this new fuel tap is terrible quality. You can see it kind of wiggles. I'm not sure if you can see when it's off, but when it's on, yeah, there you go. See all that movement in it there? So that leaks. So that might not help either, because the fuel's got to get up to get in there. So if it can draw any air at that point, that's not going to help. So I've got a new fuel tap coming of a different design, a new carburetor. I'll maybe try the fuel tap first, and if that doesn't work, I'll change the carburetor over. But other than that, we're all pretty good now. I have upped the spring tension on the back there because I had that at its lowest setting before. I realised that's probably a bit low for my middle-aged weight, and also because of the sprocket height having increased from where it was at the back, I was getting some trouble with the chain just touching the frame here, so I needed to try and stop that bottoming out. But that's something I should have adjusted before anyway. So that's all sorted. Everything's working well, apart from the carburetor. So let's see what that does. Right, I was just taking it on a little ride. I've done nothing to the little cheap carburetor other than set the idle speed. I'm going to check the mixture screw in a minute, but I have to say, it's pretty impressive. It rides perfectly. No flat spots, nothing. Can't fault that for 14 quid. So there is the new carb sat in there. It's a complete copy of the PD carb, to the point where you can see I've got the bowl off the old carb on here because I'd already had to machine the bottom of the carb to clearance the engine with my drop down manifold. So I thought, well, I'm not going to do that again. So I've changed that over. There are a few differences. I mean, I didn't think it's going to run as well as it does. The slide in this new carb is a much smaller diameter than the old one, and the jetting's different, but it runs absolutely spot on. I would say it's leaner, but the other one felt a bit rich because it goes a bit better at the top end now than it did. But the choke was also a bit loose on the original carb, so possibly it was flopping back on a little. But either way, even when that car was running as well as it would, I still had to use choke to restart it all the time. This just restarts straight away. Obviously it was £14, and I mean it doesn't look particularly. The only thing I've noticed that seems cheaper, the float, instead of being the black solid type float, is a white plastic with holes in. So I've got a spare float from rebuild kit. I'll take that with me. Maybe if I've got room in the top box, I'll just take the other carburetor as well in case we have some terrible problem with this, but for now at least that seems to be running spot on. So tomorrow is the day of the trial. Just been giving it a few finishing touches. Scrutineering says it needs to be clean, so I'm giving it a wash. Though I've got 15 miles to get to the start, so you know, I just added in this little pump in case I need to pump up the tyres. Set them at 10 psi, that's as low as we're allowed to go. I've got my spares packed in here and as much snacks as I can fit. A few tools, bits and pieces in there, light just in case my headlight fails, and that's also a power pack to charge the phone. A few other bits and bobs in there. Carburetor's all good still. Running well. I haven't taken it out again since the other day. Don't want to jinx it. So yeah, next time you'll see me will be tomorrow morning on the day of the trial. Good morning. It's frosty. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm already late. I went to bed early last night, so I got plenty of sleep. So naturally I couldn't sleep, so I've had 3 hours sleep. Let's get on the bike and go. It's that cold, my garage door's frozen shut. We'll find out. Okay, so I've got to go round that tree and back up again.
Right.
Okay. I'll give you this. That's alright. First one I did, that was a complete mess. long one. Made it to the finish. The bike was absolutely perfect. I didn't have any problems whatsoever. I tightened the chain up halfway round because the new chain it was bedded in, and that was it. Apart from that, it was perfect. I've had an absolutely brilliant day. Had great fun, and yeah, really pleased with how it's gone. And now, with that, I'm going to go to the bar and have a well-deserved drink. So it's now the day after the trial. I spent the evening giving the bike a bit of a clean, and it's come up really well considering how filthy it was. Sorry I forgot to video how filthy it was at the end. I was pretty tired out, but I'll put in a couple of photos just here. So yeah, there's no damage, nothing at all, no wear, no tear. I've double checked it and there's nothing loose, nothing come adrift whatsoever, which I'm really pleased because the event was pretty tough. And I apologise that I didn't do any talking to the camera on my way around. It was a busy day. In total, I did 114 miles, including getting to the start and back. So it was pretty busy trying to find my way around. For a while, I ended up being the first bike, well, the first vehicle on the course. So I was having to do all the navigation. There's nobody to follow, but that was great. I really enjoyed it.
So there you have it. I was really pleased that I managed to get to the finish with no problems. The only thing I did was tighten up the chain halfway round, so that bedded in, so a new chain. That was it, nothing else. I didn't even check the oil level. Unbelievable how well it went. Now it's been a couple of weeks now since the event, so I do now have the results. I can confirm, won its class and third motorbike overall, which is just, I can't believe it, to be honest. Yeah, a little 125 up against Honda CRFs, and yeah, brilliant. Really pleased with that. I wasn't always really into bikes. I had a trials bike when I was little, wasn't very good. And then I bought a moped a few years ago, a little Norman Nippy, with the idea of doing one of these long distance trials. Then realised you couldn't do it on a learner licence. So I'll get my full licence, and then I just got into bikes. But to do what I set out to do, use a bike that's been sat in the barn for years and years and years within the family, and to do well, I'm really pleased. I don't know what it is about that bike that did so well. It's clear it can't be me, must be the bike. So yeah, I'll go and do some more events on it. And there's some other bikes and things I need to show you soon. So for now, thanks for watching. I'll be back with some more soon.